Hello, this is Assetto, and this is going to be a completely free flow type of video. I didn't prepare an outline or anything, but somebody was recently asking about how I make liveries, or they just sort of were asking for some general tips about how you make liveries. Um, and so I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over, like, I guess what's covered in a lot of the guides on the internet. Like if you go to Google and you go Assetto Corsa creating liveries. Here's a guide to skin modding. And I think this is where I started. Was here. So this is a great place to get started. I'm not going to go over all of this. I'm just going to jump in to what I do. So this is, I'm actually working on making liveries for the NAGP. And so I'm kind of working on fine-tuning some layers. And it won't, may not be obvious from what's going on over here, but I'll expand this out a smidge. And I started with the template from Assetto Corsa. So, I wonder why it's not auto-filling that. That's weird. Steam apps, common, Assetto Corsa, SDK, dev, skin templates. And then somewhere in here is the Ferrari 312T. And so this is where I got my initial template. We'll open it up. So this is what the template looks like when you first get it. I actually want this. I want this layer. Actually, I think it's in my file. Hold on. It's still in here. Cool. Let's drop this down to here. Make that invisible. All right, cool. This is what it looks like when you start. And then, of course, you can see I got a crap ton of layers in here. And I got layers to do all kinds of things. And I have a bunch of GIMP scripts that automate some stuff. And I have this GIMP DDS color automation. This is an auto IT script. So if you don't know what auto IT is, again, Google is your friend. Auto IT. This is freeware basic like scripting language designed for automating the Windows GUI. So I'm writing, this is basically how you make Windows level macros. So some of what I do is going to be directly related to this style of automation. And I'm working on this. Let me go down here. So there's this basic thing that I do where I use layer masks. And the layer mask tells the color and the layer where to be on and off and by how much. It's basically, I think it's grayscale. I don't think there's RGB values in here. I think it's just white, black, gray. So you get some amount of the color in here. And so one of the benefits of that is like you generate sort of a layout of the color, like how you want the color in the layer to paint onto the other layers below it. And then you can very easily change the color in the layer using a flood fill. I'm going to go flood fill this layer. So now that's red. And my base color, I could go make that a darker red. And I don't know if this is actually going to look good. I'm just, boom, right? So I don't have to go and repaint all of these areas. I just set up my mask, my layer mask, and I paint the layer mask, and then I can flood fill whatever color I want into the layer and get these different color schemes with the same layout. So anyhow, I am actually working on this. So I'm going to, so I'm flattening, and then I'm going to export. And these are all key commands that I've used, that I've made. Export to here. Gotta use DXT5. Okay. I'm going to undo, because in order for my script to work, it's got to all these layers have to be actual layers as opposed to just flattened. And so there's an option in here, edit preferences, and somewhere in the interface, use dynamic keyboard shortcuts. So you can tell GIMP that you want to make your own keyboard shortcuts for stuff, which is what I've done. And so in here you can say image flatten is Control Alt F. And so I don't have to go here to the menu. I can just Control Alt F on my keyboard and it flattens everything. And one of the great benefits of having all these keyboard shortcuts is that the script can then call the keyboard shortcuts. And I use a lot of them. And I made all of these Python scripts. These are GIMP scripts that do stuff. And this is how the Auto IT gets all of its work done. But anyway, so I'm working on something, and I'm going to continue working on it. I'm not going to kick out all the skins. I'm going to just kick out number 13. So let's see if this works. All right, so that just made the skin for Ronnie Suarez, and the script puts everything in the temp folder on the C drive. So this is the skin here, and it's also, I'll leave that open. Steam apps, common, Assetto Corsa, content, cars, Ferrari 312T, sorry, skins, and then he is 13. So it just dumped this file, and so now if I load up Assetto Corsa, yes, I'm using Joy to Key. It's awesome. So 13, and then I'm going to load up the showroom. Now I'm going to inspect this vehicle, and this vehicle is pretty close to done. So there's not a ton of stuff wrong with it. That could be tighter. That's kind of a messy line. So we're going to fix that. I think I'm just going to leave that the way it is. Let's see what's going on with this car. Those lines don't match up exactly right, but I'm not going to fix it yet. That could be cleaned up. And that actually doesn't look that bad over here. I may have fixed that one already. Okay, so let's go find that spot. See if we can't find that spot. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my GIMP file. And I'm going to close this one we're not using. I just wanted to show you where it came from and what it looks like when you first open it. And then, of course, here I've added a bunch of stuff. But anyway, let's go find that thing. I think it's... Yeah, I think it's here. So I think this is what we want to fix. So there's a couple of ways you could do this. And we're editing this mask right here. So I'm going to start with a quick, simple, crazy fast way. And that's the free select tool, which looks like a lasso here. And this thing basically just draws straight lines. So I'm going to draw a straight line here, here, and you can move that. And here and here. Oops, missed. And there. Okay. So this has now selected some area. And I'm going to hit the delete, and I have white as my secondary color. So when I delete, it turns that area in the mask white. Because when you delete, it basically floods your selection with whatever's back here. And that looks pretty cool. I think that's fine. It's the guy. It's a little bit messy. Whatever. Well, there's things you see and there's things you don't see. And now I'm going to do this again over here. So it's like if I don't notice it when I'm looking at the car in the game, I don't care as much. Okay, and I'm going to then do the same thing here. Make sure I got my mask selected. Okay. Now we're going to go back to here. And again, all right, I'll do this manually because that's what you'd be doing unless you're running the script. So I'm going to export this to, and I'm just using this to, no, that's not right. See if maybe I got something. No. All right, so I have to browse all the way to Steam, maps, common, Assetto Corsa, content, cars, Ferrari 312T, skins, and whenever a folder exists, the livery will show up. I mean, it'll try to show you the livery in Assetto Corsa. And so I'm going to, instead of using the automation, well, I'm going to use the automation. But this is where you would go if you were going to be exporting an image. This is complaining because I haven't flattened it. And so you want to flatten this. And of course you could see like all these things aren't oriented properly because I didn't run the script. And now I'm going to export it to, yep, that's my folder. Car paint D, export, replace. If you were doing like a one-off, if you weren't doing this sort of like mass creation that I'm doing, that's where you would write the image. And you would do it that way. You just browse to the folder and you would just boom, export it right there. And then I have this Control E set up. So technically I could Control E and it just overrode the file. But that's not exactly where I want to really export to, so I'm going to go back and use my temp folder, because that's how I'm going to get work done. And that warning doesn't matter. All right, so now I'm going to do this for real. Cool, script is done. Although I forgot to look into this. I wonder if that's the area. And some of this is kind of just guessing, like what you're dealing with. I wonder if that would be. Where's? I guess I could just start taking out all of this kind of crud. Maybe I'll do that. Let's do some of that. So, you can see here we've got like white in these kind of random places, and that's just how I generated the mask to begin with. Because sometimes I'll bring in a layer, like, let's see, show you a trick. So this is an image. This is a layer, and this is actually, that's with the ambient occlusion, and the ambient occlusion kind of creates shadows and stuff. So you pretty much, you want to use it. But for the purposes of me just finagling this thing, I'm going to bring it up here. And this is above the ambient occlusion, so now you don't see the shadows, just flat colors and stuff. So if I was going to try to isolate just these whites. Actually, I don't want to use this one, do I? But there's a couple of things you could do. You could say color to alpha. And so I'm going to grab this red. And I'm going to turn the red into basically transparent. So that's what that just did. So all that red that was in that layer went away. And you can sort of do that with all the rest of the colors until you get just, I'm actually going to flood fill this with white to demonstrate. That's a bad idea. I should have flooded with black. Okay, so now, like all the red that was in here is gone. And so you can see how you're just like seeing through all this space into the black that's the layer below it. And so that's one way. Let's say you're trying to, oh, I like all this stuff. Like I like all these lines and decals and everything, but I don't want the red. You can take the red out. And then now you can put any color you want underneath. Let's go with blue. Let's say you like crazy electric blue colors. And I'm going to flood fill that into here. And so now we put this thing underneath the, oops, let's do this, under the ambient occlusion. And so now you have a blue version of that skin instead of a red one. Because you took all the red out, then you made a layer of blue. So that's a trick. You know, if you like the graphics and things, but you want a different color, you can do that. But that's not what we're doing here. But that's one way to make skins. From the skins that are already in the game. Or the ones you download on the internet. And that technique will, it doesn't work fantastically all the time. I think that worked really well because we had the template with the, you know, the flat colors in it. The skins that you get on the internet are probably going to have the ambient occlusion already applied, so it gets a little harder to do that color to alpha trick. All right, let's see. Which is why this one looks messy. It's because I tried to do something very similar to that, but it had the ambient occlusion applied, so it doesn't necessarily work as well. Okay, so I'm going to take out some of that stuff. I'm going to make this black. I'm going to flip these. Then I'm going to get back to my trusty tool. I'm going to just select. Yeah, let's just take all that out. Oops. Okay, so I just deleted, and this background color is black, so delete makes everything black, and we're working on the layer mask, and so making the layer mask black makes that color makes this white not show. It just turns it off, basically. Oops. And I always use this rectangle to select none. There's an actual select none. Like if I had selected something, you could select none, Control-Shift-A. You get into habits, and then it's hard to break them. So that's just what I do when I want to turn the selection off. I do like a null selection. Okay. So let's render that thing out. Okay, something's going on over here. Yeah, I need to clean that up. So flip those around. Doop. So when you flatten and unflatten, it automatically, he always goes to this bottom layer, so I just have to keep going back to my mask. Layer mask. Alright, so I fixed that. I'm going to run this thing again. Script is done. Okay, so I'm going to go back to AC. Load up the... let's check my... It's still dirty there. Not sure where that's coming from. That looked fine before. Let's go back up. See, and there's some dirty lines here. I need to clean those up. I should probably just take out all that stuff. This looks better. That's not horrible. That's okay. That doesn't offend me. That line looks dirty. And that should probably just be straight up white. Okay. I can only keep so many things in my head at a time. I have to kind of keep going back and forth. So like here. So instead of doing a like a select, whatever, I'm going to do this one slightly different. I'm going to grab the paintbrush, and I'm going to make this a hard circle. I'm just going to paint that on. And you can see kind of like, let me turn the ambient occlusion off. Because the ambient occlusion cleans things up. And this keeps turning into gray. And so this looks, like if you look at the skin this way, You know, it looks really junky, sort of. But you turn on the ambient occlusion, and that cleans up a bunch of lines that are sort of, they just become hidden behind the mask of the ambient occlusion. So it's like, if you're going to get crazy serious and ADD about it, you could clean up all these things, but it's just going to get masked out, so I don't personally care. So now we cleaned up that. I'm going to actually clean up these things. Oops. Just like this. I'm going to, I don't think this stuff. I'm not entirely sure if this is visible or not. Should probably go ahead and paint all that though. And when the layers don't, well, I don't mean to say layers. When the sections of the car aren't too close to each other, you can get away with painting by hand a little more. When the tolerances are tight, that's when I tend to use these, like the path or the free select. But if I've got a little bit of leniency with these areas not being too close, and I'll just, and I have one of these things. So I have a mouse and I have a touchpad, trackpad thing. I find the trackpad to be more granular. I get smoother. Okay, so this is me with the trackpad moving. I can get kind of precise, real precise like this. If I was trying to do precise work with the mouse, I feel like it jumps a little more. So I like this thing because it's more precise. And if I'm sim racing and my desk moves, this thing doesn't turn the mouse cursor back on. So that's kind of cool. All right, I'm having bad posture right now. Okay, so I'm trying to clean this stuff up. I like the mouse because it's got the wheel. Like I can quickly zoom in and out with the wheel. That's awesome. I don't find the pinch and zoom on the touchpad to be as accurate or pleasant. Flip those again. Take all this stuff out. Pretty sure that's not necessary. Let's just go over this whole thing. And here I'm using the mouse because there's nothing, I'm not as worried about. Oops. I don't need super precision right now. Take that out. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to the trackpad. I'm going to zoom in just a smidge more. I'm going to switch over to the trackpad so I can get real close to here. I'll be less likely to color something I don't want to. Need to zoom in a little more. that's a different layer. Ah, yes, of course. Clean this up. Back to the mouse. Switch to the trackpad. I'm going to assume that doesn't need to be there. I might find out I'm wrong and wish I hadn't done that. We'll take all that out. I'm going to leave that there. Switch over to the trackpad. Yeah, this is the really exciting part. I'll leave that there. Anything that's like bright white, I am going to leave it alone. Just because I don't know. Alright. But like this kind of like this dingy white, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'll leave that alone. For now. Just that, I guess. Hold on. Do that again. Ah, crap. Alright, just leave it like that. Let's see. Yeah, this is real precision work. Okay. I'll do that. Okay, we'll check it in AC. And we're looking for anything that looks odd. Zoom in on that. That looks clean now. See, that's a pretty nice line. I mean, that's not perfect right there. I don't think I'm going to worry about that too much. This all looks pretty decent. Looks good. And then this part I actually don't have control over. This is somewhere in the model that I don't know where it is in all the files. But that's fine. Okay, yeah, this looks pretty decent. So I'm going to wonder if that's going to bother me later. Those not being exactly right. Alright, cool. So I'm going to render out all the skins. For all the cars. And this will probably take, I don't know, 5 minutes. It's 10 o'clock right now. Let's see when this gets done. Yeah, if I'd built an if-then statement for just the cars with that layout, I could have just done them. But I haven't done that work yet. So it's easy enough for me just to go like render them all. the Vader. Yeah, I need to zip up all these files and hand them over to the league for posterity. And I'm only working on the main skin right now. Like if I was doing the whole pack, it would take a lot longer than 4 minutes. So basically, like the car paint, that's like 4 minutes, and then it'd probably be about 4 minutes for the helmets, and 4 minutes for this file, and 4 minutes for that file, and 4 minutes for that file, and obviously, that 4 minutes adds up. 20 minutes. Run the whole thing to generate all the files. Okay, so let's go back to Assetto Corsa. I'm not going to preview the cars in the showroom. I actually have a replay that I did with all the skins. After last season, making the skins for the 72Ds, I felt like looking at the skins in the showroom wasn't representative of what they look like in an actual race. And so in order to have opinions about the skins in an actual race, I wanted to have them run an actual race so I could that's not good. Okay. Just to see what they look like under these conditions, because this is what the broadcast is going to look like, right? I wonder what my frame rates are. Ah, that's pretty decent. looking pretty decent. Looking pretty good. So I'm gonna kind of go around. Those lines could be cleaned up a smidge. Not horrible. It's pretty rare that the camera ever gets that close. Somehow I was changing the name of the replay file. Didn't even know that was an option. These lines look good. These lines pretty much all look good. You gotta give it to Kunos, man. Some of this stuff's pretty amazing. Anyway, that's the end of that replay, I suppose. And I think those are looking pretty good. I might need to fix those. And I could actually copy and paste those from the other one, or I might just go in and fix them outright. Those aren't matching up exactly right. I don't know, we'll see. I think they look pretty good for now. So anyway, let's is there any other tips and things? Like I do things for the league, like the these are the wing caps. I guess that's what they're called. Either end of the spoiler in the back. And so you can make them black or white, and that helps Al, I think, with the broadcast. Now I'm using basically 2 layers, but I have, you know, these 3 different layouts for the secondary color. And that's getting turned on and off in the script based on what layout is set up for what driver. These are the number plates. I just made that a separate layer. And the numbers are here. And then if you were doing a one-off, like these would be rasterized. Like it wouldn't have to be an actual number per se. You could just flatten all of these into one layer and make them an image, and then rotate the various numbers to, you know, because that's obviously not how that's supposed to be rotated. But the script is doing all the rotating and stuff to make it look right when it goes out of the file system. And then these are all the various flags. And these get turned on and off based on whatever country the driver wants to associate with. And here's the NAGP logo. I make lots of things their own layers, just because why not? There's a wireframe. Things off. So anyway, I don't know, maybe that helped a little bit to explain how I make skins. from more of like a noodling, from the like going in and tweaking standpoint, because that's what you do a lot of more than anything else, is just going in and like using the paths. So I'll show paths real quick because I use a lot of that. So let's say I was going to try to fix this, like these lines being off. I don't know that I'm going to, but if I was going to, I would probably use paths to do that. So okay, so this just kind of looks like a rectangle right now. But the beauty of paths is that each one of these nodes, zoom in here, each one of these nodes, you can move it, and then if you hold down the shift and get close to it, you'll see that little kind of plus sign pops up, and then you grab it, you click down, and then these things show up. And this gives you the ability to then warp your line. So if I had wanted that to come out to here, maybe I will just fix these. I mean, I'm doing it right now anyway. And you probably want that. And you sort of just have to play with both ends. Of this. To get that to, I want that to go here, and this needs to come, these two need to be basically straight down this, like that. I'm going to use the edge of the window sort of as a ruler. I need my, okay. That needs to go like right there, basically. That go there. Now I gotta make sure I select my mask. And then the thing with paths is that a path needs to be turned into a selection in order for it to be like a fillable area. And so now I'm going to flip that around, and I'm going to delete. And so now I probably have fixed I can't really tell where that blends in. I fixed the top, so now I need to fix this bottom part. So I'm basically going to do that same sort of procedure in reverse. I'm use my paths. I'm actually going to put that thing. Yeah, let me try to use this thing sort of like a ruler. Okay. Oh, actually going this way with that. And then hold Control. And then you close off the whatchamacallit. I did that wrong. Yeah, because I'm taking stuff out. Okay. Getting confusing myself. So that goes there. This needs to go right about there. Now I'm going to take this thing out to say here. That goes there. And all of this area is basically black in this layer mask. That's why this deletion is going to work. So now I'm going to go back to my, make my handles, I guess is what they're called. Line these things up a little better. Like that. Oops. Now I need to, oh, no. I always miss these handles. Try to get a hold of them. I need to make some handles over here. There's probably a fancier name for these. Should look it up in the documentation. All right, I'm going to kind of bring that out at a sort of a particular angle just for fun. I need to, yeah, come out there. I just want this to sort of be nice and smooth without that curve. Why does that do that? And I'm using the mouse, obviously, for this. How do I feel about that? I want to smooth that out some. This. I'm going to assume that's right. Okay, so make my selection, and then I'm going to delete. I think this needs to be more like that. That's a little bulbous right there, isn't it? And now I cut it back too much. So I'm going to undo. Let's go to my pads. Let's see if I... So I just went back, I went to the paths tab, and I basically turned on the path that I had made, and now I'm editing it again. Pretty freaking sweet, if you ask me. That felt bulbous, right? So I need to trim some more. That. I need that to be more like this. Now I'm going to remake the selection, and still remake the selection. Starting to feel better. That's pretty close. You know, I think I'm going to call that done. Good enough. So that's how paths work. And I'm not an expert. This is just something I do for fun. Pretty cool. So let's see, 13 is... Wait, hold on. Do some coding here. Marking layer. I think this is what I want. Yeah. Let's see if I can just render out en is a 2. Right. So I'm going to render out just the 2s. See if this works. This is the slow and possibly not very exciting tutorial method. I love automating. It makes me happy. Like, why would I do all this crap manually when I could just automate it? Happy. So now we can go back and check. Yeah, I'm not going to load the 13. It looks better. It's not 100%, but it looks better. It's pretty good. You know, at high speeds, I don't think people are going to see that very much. Except that now I'm talking about it, so everyone's going to notice. All right. So I think that's good enough for now. I've probably been doing this, what, for like a freaking hour or something? This thing say. Oh. Can't resize this? I guess not. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to be done for now. If you have questions, comment on YouTube or post in the forums, and I'll see what I can do about answering them. All right. Thank you.